Welcome back to Podcast Shorts, a shorter version of the podcast you love. I'm Alex, and man, have we had a lot of things drop this week. We've got apparently Thanos is going to throw a moon at the Avengers Infinity War. We got to see a little bit of behind the scenes footage of The Last Jedi, and also we've got a new doctor, and the doctor is now female. How about that? But all of those things I'm not going to talk about today in this edition of Podcast Shorts. I'm sure that most of those topics we'll probably cover in a podcast at some point. What I am going to talk about today is a little bit of a rant, so fair warning, I'm going to stand on my soapbox, and if you are still on this ship by the time the ship is sailed, you have been warned. The Walking Dead has released a poster for the coming season and a release date of October the 22nd, which is going to be its premiere date just before Halloween. And with The Walking Dead kind of being in the news again, and also with the premiere of Game of Thrones fresh in my mind, it really got me thinking. And I know a lot of this is going to be old news, so fair warning. There's going to be some spoilers as well as I detail some of the events and happenings of the two series. So fair warning, spoiler alert. But I would like to kind of compare and contrast Game of Thrones and Walking Dead as far as their approaches to the end of their seasons. In particular, the Negan scene, the infamous Negan scene, and the past Game of Thrones premiere and season finale that we just experienced. So that is going to be the topic of the day. It's a bit of a rant, so fair warning. In the infamous Negan scene that happened the last season, not this past season, but the last season, the writers / showrunners of The Walking Dead leave us on a very dramatic cliffhanger where Negan has just took a baseball bat to one of the main characters and they hung it in the air as to who he took out. It was a very Who Shot JR, if you get that reference, type of moment. And while that kind of cliffhanger was great back in the 80s, it's not very good in modern times. Now, also from a narrative perspective, it kind of didn't line up, in my opinion. For one reason, sure, cliffhangers are great tools to use. You should use cliffhangers when used properly. You want to give your audience a reason to come back, to return to the show, especially after a long hiatus, like say over the course of a summer when you're going to be going from May to October, half a year's time. It's a lot of time for people to lose interest in a show. But if you do it the wrong way, if you over-dramatize it, if you over-traumatize it, you can lose your fan base, which is what appears to be happening to The Walking Dead, as this past season, it was hemorrhaging viewers. Its levels, as far as viewership goes, is down to its season 2 and season 3 levels before it became event television, before it was blockbuster television. And I think what happened was the series, as well as the network, kind of got a little too full of themselves. They got caught up in on themselves. They were this phenomenon, fan base was always going to be there, and they tried to troll the audience. I think that is very much apparent in the season premiere when it took them almost 20 minutes before they revealed who the first victim was. They revealed who after having the audience wait an entire summer, and I know it's been over a year ago, but I'm still a little, it's been almost a year ago, but I'm still a little bitter about this. After having their fan base wait an entire summer to find out who Negan got, who he offed, who he killed, they still wait till after the first commercial break to reveal who it was, while they tease you who it could be. They were trolling the audience, and I think for a lot of people it turned them off to the show. Now, in juxtaposition to Game of Thrones, let's look at what they did with their past season finale and season premiere. At the end of season 6 of Game of Thrones, Jon Snow is declared King of the North. Daenerys is set a sail on her ships, crossing the narrow sea, heading for Westeros, something that the fan base has been wanting to see forever. Both the book readers and the show watchers have been wanting that forever. They are delivering promises. That season finale, it set up promises to what the new season could lead, and that was a cliffhanger. From a narrative perspective, it's much better storytelling to do that than to do a dramatic cliffhanger that's right in the middle of the action, when you just pretty much just chop off something. The premiere of that particular season of The Walking Dead, where we determined who Negan killed, that actually should have been the season finale of the season before that, because the cliffhanger, the narrative cliffhanger, is how do Rick and the gang respond. That's the cliffhanger, not who he killed, but how do they respond next after losing their close friends? That's a narrative cliffhanger, and I think that's the direction they should have went, but they did not. Game of Thrones, on the other hand, after coming back from an even longer hiatus than normal, what is the first scene they deliver to us? Unlike The Walking Dead, they do not troll us. They give us exactly what we want to see, which is the Starks coming back doing something big. And spoiler alert again, just for those that's just so fresh and it just premiered this past week, some people may not have seen it. Spoiler alert again. Pretty much Arya takes out the entire Frey house. She murks an entire house. The Freys are gone. They are done. They are no longer a factor. And she eliminated one of the closest allies to the Lannisters, who, as they look around, as I stated in the previous shorts video, they have no one left to turn to. They have no allies. So you have a season premiere coming off of a very disappointing season finale, cliffhanger in the middle of the action where you troll the audience, versus with Game of Thrones, a very satisfying season finale where the premiere after a long hiatus is also similarly very satisfying. And I think that's the difference between the two shows. I think that's one of the reasons why Game of Thrones is so much better than The Walking Dead. And also, and I just have to mention this, I'll just throw this in real quickly, I think one of the big differences is that Game of Thrones has an end game. They are huge, they are part of pop culture, but they hear direction of where they're going and how they're going to end things, so they know what they're trying to strive for. Walking Dead and the creators, showrunners pretty much said this: we're going to milk this for all it's worth. We're going to keep going for the next 10 or 12 seasons. And while it's great, because I do like the show, it's a good show, and I'm happy that it's going to have such longevity, at the same time, sometimes you've got to service the story versus the promotion of it. If The Walking Dead had a clear end game, I think narratively they would be able to have a lot tighter story, and it would make for a much better product. Even better than what it already is, and it's already great. But those moments, like with the Negan scene, those experiments, I don't think they would make such bold failures if they had an end game. Well, that's it for this edition of POWcast Shorts. If you liked what you heard, then click the like button, subscribe, and share. Also, don't forget, we actually have a podcast with a lot more people than just me. So if you like what you're hearing here, check out the podcast. You can catch us on iTunes and Stitcher at the POWcast Podcast. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next edition of POWcast Shorts.